Hello and welcome back to From the BO End. This is the debrief on Oxford United 0, Burnley 0, which may also turn out to be more of a preview of Burnley versus Plymouth, because not a huge amount to debrief on, it has to be said. Justin Connolly, Chris Bowden and Paul Woodhouse are here. Woody, you've reviewed the highlights of that game as well. We all sat through it, but you reviewed the highlights. Just refresh us on what went on there.
Blink and you might miss them. Blink twice and you might nod off. It's one of those. Weirdly, as I was just saying, it felt yesterday that we had more cut chances in the actual box itself, not running onto stuff, etc., than we have all season. And obviously fluffed our lines. I think we probably had 2 in the first half. There was a run through from Foster that he should have squared and fluffed a little shot. And I think he had a crossover from Koleosho that he skied over the bar. There was Sarmiento's in the second half that equally he ballooned into Cambridge. And arguably the worst. Watching it again, I thought it must have been offside or something yesterday. But that Hutonji effort, where he's absolutely clear about 7 yards out and somehow just passes it 4 foot wide of the post. What raffle stroke lottery he's won to be up front, I absolutely no idea. But that was shocking. But I think overall it was a very sloppy performance. There was a lot of good things that went on. Cullen had a good game. Koleosho, even though he seemed to be struggling to get the ball at times or anybody to give him the ball in the second half, played extremely well. The first 30 minutes, I thought we played decent and looked to be pushing them, back, and it seemed to be only a matter of time before we were going to make some kind of inroads. But then they started with some dark arts, shall we say, and they literally didn't make a chance other than turnovers and gifts that we gave them. Hannibal, one of these that did some good things, but also did some awful things, like getting dispossessed in their half and they broke. There was some sloppy bits of passages of play, little layoffs that were more reminiscent of last season than this season. And there seemed to be a lack of urgency. And I can see how everybody's pissed off overall with this, what we were told from Fulham fans about Parkable. This felt like what they were talking about, 70% possession, nearly 700 passes, and none of it being direct, or as they used to say, progressive. And it just seemed all very stale and staid, but we had more than enough chances to easily put that game to bed.
That's a fair summary, I think. Yeah. Justin, I mean, you look at that lineup when it came out with a few injuries and so on, it seemed like a little bit shaky at the back, with Humphreys and Egan Riley there. But actually, defensively, that wasn't the problem, was it?
No, I thought, I mean, they didn't have a lot to do, did they? Let's be honest. But what they did have to do, they did it reasonably well, I thought. It just all seemed very aimless, didn't it? It was all kind of... I mean, I'm all for patience, and waiting for your opening, but at some point you've got to sort of step up a gear and try and be a bit more positive and a bit more aggressive going forward. I mean, the stats tell the story, don't they? 70% possession and 1 shot on target. That's not going to win you games, is it? And we've said before that, we're going to play teams like this who sit back and defend, and we've got to work out ways to break them down. And I thought, I think Woody's right that we did create some chances, and it very, very clearly and obviously is a game that we should have won. But the fact that we didn't that we didn't put those chances away. That we did create a few bits and pieces, but we didn't put those chances away is a bit worrying. I think we seem to be a bit light up top, don't we? And Foster's not had a great start to the season without him firing. I think we're going to struggle to put teams like this away. And it's going to happen again and again and again that we get against these teams who just sit back and defend. I'm not 100% convinced of Hannibal in that number 10 role. I think I'm not sure if he's got the. I'm not sure if he's got the keys. I like him. I like his industry, and his pressing's really good. But I think he's probably a bit better, a bit further back. I mean, to my mind, Brownhill offers much more of a goal threat than he does. Hannibal don't look like he's going to get the required number of goals in that position. Whereas Brownhill's proven himself to be able to do that. So that's something to think about. But it's still early days, isn't it? We didn't lose the game, which is the first priority. But we really should be taking 3 points off teams like that, because a lot of the other rivals for promotion will go there and beat them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things in that performance I thought that were evident in previous games as well, particularly the last home game against Portsmouth. Koleosho going wandering, looking for the ball, as you say. Like we didn't last season, he played very much up on the line, didn't he? Where if he got the ball and could use his pace, he was past the fullback and something was happening. Whereas now he's not getting that ball. He doesn't believe it's coming to him, and he's going wandering deep and central and going across to the other side, and he's just desperately searching to get the ball and do something. There's the Foster problem that was there against Portsmouth and was even more evident at Oxford, and as Justin's highlighted, the central midfield, attacking midfielder slot not being filled effectively by Hannibal in that role, despite him being a player who you wouldn't want to turn around and say drop Hannibal, but play him in a different role in the midfield. I mean, Chris, it's inevitable he's going to be a period of adjustment as well with all the change we've had and so on. Do you think Parker's going to probably look at this and say, like, yeah, these things aren't working, we need to change things a little bit?
You'd hope so. He's still searching for the right balance, is he? He's still putting a team together that's trying to gel. That it got hastily thrown together towards the end of the window. I say, if we look back on the early days of Vincent Kompany's reign and the amount of frustrating games, Luton at home, Hull at home, Preston away early on, where again you had the lion's share of possession and didn't really look like snatching a winning goal. But it's okay having 70% possession. But if you listen to the modern games based on possession is king. Well, I always go back to, it always sticks in my mind listening to Roy Evans at Liverpool, and the famous lineage of the boot room. You got to have possession with purpose. Just knocking it about at the back. Back to Trafford, to Egan Riley, to Esteve, to Trafford, just there, to Egan Riley. It's absolutely pointless. There needs to be more tempo and more zip, and that's something that's got to be demanded. If they start sort of, laissez-faire, it's got to be, someone's got to be able to inject that tempo into proceedings, lead by example, get on the ball, zip it, be looking to collect it back, trying to move it quickly, and I think we've seen for a period of time in the Premier League last season and at times so far this year, I think Brownie and Cullen isn't an ideal sort of central two. I think we've seen so far that Laurent can be quite progressive in his passing, as part of that sort of more defensive midfield duo as such. I'd agree that Brownhill, if we're gonna play a 10 that's essentially a midfielder to try and thicken up midfield, it has to be Brownhill. Because Brownhill will get you double figures this season if he's playing in that role. Plus assists. You get the work rate, you get the press, and he is more of a goal threat. It's the numbers tell you that. But we can't be having Koleosho come in looking for the ball like he did against Portsmouth and again yesterday. if you think back at the opening night and we're sort of playing balls, sort of looking for them to sort of him and Odobert to spin in behind, and in that respect, you're missing. We've basically played makeshift right backs, haven't we, for the last few weeks? You've had Egan Riley's played there, you've had Humphreys play there, and they're makeshift right backs. We need Roberts back. Obviously, Vitinho's gone, and you might get that sort of instant little clip over the top, the old sort of like Westwood type ball round the corner as such, looking for the run of Koleosho. Although again, to me, he looks more effective on the left hand side. He was back to his more positive best really when he shifted over to the left hand side. And unfortunately, we've got a centre forward. Again, I don't like to dwell on it, but it's 7 in 48 games now. It's 1 in 7 for Foster. There's so much time you can give him, and we've mentioned the word a couple of weeks ago. After Fleming's display down at Leeds, presence. Foster doesn't give it you. Fleming does, and I dare say Jay Rodriguez gives us more presence at the minute than Foster does as well. So that is a concern. But I say if they hadn't have equalised against Portsmouth last week and had gone and won there yesterday, we'd be quite buoyant, really. Obviously, you'd have liked to got maximum points from those games, but the mood would be slightly different, I suspect. But it's another opportunity this week, and there's 2 home games against teams that we should be putting to the sword. And like I say, fingers crossed they can. If they create the openings again, we've got to be taking. Hopefully Fleming's fit, and hopefully Worrell's available as well.
We will dwell on Foster just for a little bit because it does seem that it's not just his lack of goal threat, is it? And as Chris says, Woody, it's the presence. It's being a target man. It's being somebody people can play off, and it does leave us seeming a bit hollow up front.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with Hannibal trying to play this 10, and he's another one who goes to find the action. He very, very rarely do you just see him sticking to whatever task he's been given. He's either floating out wide or he's floating out left or he's dropping deep, and trying to do Cullen's job. And he's trying to do everything. And so he's not getting anything. He's not getting any service centrally. He's not getting no balls really through the middle that he can run onto. He maybe got one yesterday. And other than that, we just kept spreading it wide, diagonally, and getting some kind of a ball across. But there's also very, very poor service to him. But to that point, he also doesn't necessarily know where he should be, when he should drop off, whatever he should be doing. And I can imagine it's very much a confidence thing for him as well, because I'm sure he knows he's only 1 in 7. But who's really pushing him properly for a place? And I can imagine that with Fleming as a 10 to support him properly, we may see a slightly different Foster. And if we don't, then that would be when you'd probably say jettison him and try somebody else.
Yeah, Fleming being missed already, isn't he? I mean, we haven't seen a huge amount of him, but we already feel like we're missing him. I mean, Justin, if you did decide to rest Foster or maybe move him out wide and see if that sort of sparks something in him. If Fleming's not fit, you are down to J-Rod or Hutonji, who has really, it has to be said, not exactly knocking on the door for starting place on the basis of his sub appearances. But
well, I mean, we say that, but we've not seen a lot of him, have we? I mean, he missed probably our best chance, didn't he, on Saturday? But at least he was there. Yeah, of the season. At least he was there to miss it. They do say, don't they, that that's the biggest part of the job, being there. If you're missing chances, at least you sort At least you're sort of on in the right spot.
Tell that to Timo Werner. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Foster's not even getting there, is he? There were a few times I thought when Koleosho got round his man and pulled the ball across, and Foster was like nowhere to be seen. For me personally, I think he's had enough chances now, and I think it's time that they tried something else. I still think J-Rod can do a job at this level, and I think he's got a bit more of that kind of presence that we're talking about. He's a lot better playing with his back to goal, and he can find those wide players when he's holding things up. So, as a
link player, he's probably the best we've got.
Yeah, and we have got some talent out wide. So it's like like you say, we don't want Koleosho coming and try and find the ball. We want him to stick on that touchline and run at players, because that's when he's at his best. So I think that combination might work a little bit better than what we've got. But I'm not writing off Utonji yet. Like I say, he was there. He was at least there in the right place. So he's got that instinct. And like all strikers, once they start going in, he might be a different player. But I'm worried about Foster. I don't. He's not showing the attributes that are required in this division to get a lot of goals. And if he's going to be our main threat, if we're going to be relying on him, it's going to be a long, hard season and a difficult watch, I think.
Yeah, Woody, what did you make of Sarmiento, given the nod ahead of Anthony?
I thought for the first 25, 30 minutes, everything that we threw in his direction, he did rather well. He even came with one of those kind of crossover traps, didn't he? Which was rather fancy. But I think he take a knock shortly after that, and he seemed to fade from then on in. And I think he didn't really take anybody on after that. And that miss in the second half really was quite appalling. But I think it could wind up being one of those seasons where we, the guy that we put out left, it's going to be very much Sarmiento versus Anthony, and neither really impress upon that position as a starter and wind up looking better when they come on off the bench, because Anthony looked a lot better coming off the bench, didn't he? So it's whoever can really take that by the scruff of the neck. But I thought he, for the first 20, as the rest of the side did, played well, or reasonably well.
Yeah. Right, shall we move on to Plymouth Argyle? Because there wasn't a lot of incident or controversy to discuss from that game, was there? I mean, Wayne Rooney was sat at Old Trafford watching his old team's miserable performance against Tottenham Hotspur. Obviously, got himself up to the northwest early ahead of Tuesday's clash at Turf Moor. Chris, Plymouth Argyle, they've got one lad who we were very close to signing, haven't they? But what do you make of them as a package?
Yeah, they did an awful start, haven't they? They got walloped 4-0 at Sheffield Wednesday on the opening weekend, but they've had a bit of a mixed bag. They've lost to Stoke, who, if you listen to Stoke fans, are up in arms, they're on the verge of mutiny. So, if you're losing to Stoke, it's I think everyone's concerned by that. But they beat Luton handsomely on. Was it Friday night? I'm losing track of my days with the weekend now, but it's they're
3-1 on Friday.
Yeah, again,
good win that.
Absolutely, but Whittaker's a big talent. Obafemi's been prominent for him. Obviously, been borrowed from us, but he's yet to score. But I think the most standout thing from the game against Luton was I actually saw Victor Moses scored for Luton, didn't he? I was like, he's still with us, he's still alive. I didn't realise they'd picked him up, but he arrived from Moscow in earlier this month. But we've got to be lucky to be putting Plymouth away, and then Preston. You never know. Again, mixed bag. They've had a poor afternoon at Millwall yesterday, but they've shown, under Heckingbottom and Stuart McCall, that they can be, quite hard to break down as well. But we've got to be looking at 6 points from this week. It's all about finding a way to break down these sides who bank in, and when they do that, you need that individual brilliance, a little give and go, or a worldie from outside the box. And I say we are capable of providing that. Sarmiento was the difference against Portsmouth with that effort to equalise, and Brownhill's popped up with 3 and 7 so far. He's capable of banging on him from distance, etc. But I'm still sort of pinning my hopes, really, and so ultimately you never know if they'll be dashed or not, but still pinning my hopes on the likes of Redmond and Trésor and Ramsey and Benson as being the real sort of game changers that we can rely on. Southampton posted a goal that Redmond scored while in the Premier League with Southampton about 3 years ago, and you're thinking, if we can get that Redmond back, we didn't see anything of him really. At times he was underutilized by Vincent Kompany, and then picked up an injury. But at this level, he should be again like your Brownhills, people like that. Should be head and shoulders above his opposition at this level. And Ramsey as well. So we know we've been told to give him time. It's just a return to the grass, etc. But I'm really, really hopeful when we get those 3 and 4 players available. I think we'll be a different proposition.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the injury list, and it's more than 3 or 4 players, isn't it? You look at, Worrell was out at the weekend. He could be out for a few games, it seems. Although Roberts and Fleming could be back this week, Scott Parker was saying. Could really, I think as you were saying, Justin, I think having Roberts back in might give a little bit more than just having another right back. He might give us a bit more to our shape and the sort of dynamics of it all. But you look at the injury list as well: Jordan Bayer, Ekdal, Delcroix, Aaron Ramsey, Manuel Benson, Nathan Redmond, and Mike Trésor. So it's almost another team that's out injured at the moment. Yeah, I mean, return of Roberts, Woody. It's a possibility apparently for Tuesday. Do you expect that'll make a big difference?
I thought Humphreys did quite well at right back, playing a little bit more like Roberts, as in bringing the ball forward, trying to come inside, looking a little bit more inverted, coming across, and played a little bit more like Roberts would have done, and we saw more of a balance. So I think Roberts coming in for Humphreys, hopefully, either against Plymouth or Preston, will make a hell of a difference, especially with his experience as well. He's a very good right back in this league, and I think the likes of Humphreys taking Egan Riley's place will improve that position. But looking at Plymouth as well, don't forget they nearly did a job on West Brom and then beat Sunderland. So they've taken 3 of what we'd consider to be one of the better sides in this division and gone toe to toe. So I'm expecting them to give us probably quite a decent game. So it'd be another reasonable test. And you would like Roberts to be back in for that. We need to see that balance, and we need to see a balance across the side as well.
Justin, what you're looking for against Plymouth?
Well, I think a lot of it very much depends on how they perform, what they do, what they set the stall out. I suspect they're going to do what a lot of teams are going to do, and just sit back and try and defend and hit us on the break. Not sure if sometimes they have clauses in these loans, don't they? Is Obafemi going to be able to play against us, or is it one of those things where they say you can't play against your parent side? I'm not sure, but
it's a bit unsure. If you look at Premier League, it's categorical. You cannot play against your parent club.
Yeah.
EFL, it's a bit sort of. I'd have to sort of. I admit, I'll give it like 2 minutes beforehand, and it's a bit confusing. It's hard to sort of ascertain whether, if the parent club allows, they can play, or whether it's banned, or whether it was a bit, very, very grey area, really. But You'd be surprised if they permitted that, because it just, we all remember, remember David Williams keeping goal for Rochdale against us in, was it like 89, 90, something like that, and having a worldie, and you just look daft, don't you?
Well, it'd be if you could stop him from playing against us, it would be foolish not to do it, would it? Wouldn't it really? So you would hope that they have taken those steps. But I think at home we should have too much for them. I think that if they do sit back and defend, we should have too much for them at home. And if they don't sit back and defend and try and take us on toe-to-toe, I think we'll have too much quality for them. I think Woody's right. I think Roberts coming back into the side would make a massive difference. Not least because he seems like he's a bit of a leader, doesn't he? He's got that he's got a little bit of that about him where these younger players perhaps don't. I mean, his experience is massive, isn't it? And he's proven himself at this level to be a good player. And I mean, it says something about the quality we've got in that position. We signed Sambo, who's supposed to be a right back, and he's not had a look in, has he? And we're playing sort of makeshift central defenders at right back in his position. So you got to worry about that a little bit. For that reason alone, we really need to keep Roberts fit for the season, because I think he's one of those vital sort of cornerstones of the side. But what I want to see is a bit more progressive football. I don't want it to be so aimless. I don't want it to be keeping possession for the sake of it. I want to see us be positive, and I think that is, inevitable at home. The crowd will get up for it, won't it? They'll get behind them, and a little bit more forward thinking, a little bit positive. If I can, I always use these football manager analogies. We need to switch the mindset from cautious to positive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a bit too much on the cautious side, wasn't it, on Saturday? I think. Yeah.
But what do you make of this sort of, you're saying last week, Scott Parker, that he's not just going to sling the ball in the box sort of aimlessly, and you're thinking, there is a purpose to that as well. You're sort of saying, well, good centre halves, solid centre halves will nod it away time after time, but they don't win every header in the box, and you could put 20 balls in the box and they might win 19, and the one you win is the one that might be the match-winning goal or something like that. There's no harm in slinging a ball in the box. It's better than sort of, like, let's say, playing 70% possession and having one shot on target. Ultimately, the aim of the game is to get them white poles at the other end of the park. you to get that spherical object in between them white poles. And if you do it more than they do it to you, like to quote my mate, Mr. Deitch again, the object of the game is to keep it out at that end and to put it in that end. It's quite simple, really.
Yeah, it sort of seemed like they'd forgotten that a little bit on Saturday, didn't it? It was sort of, like I say, I'm all for patience, but there comes a point, probably about 85 minutes, when you've got to start thinking, you know what, this isn't working, let's try something else.
I'm still trying to work out. We scored 9 in those first 2.
Yeah, different side.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that.
There should be an asterisk against those 2 games this season, really, shouldn't there? Yeah. Right, around the rest of the football world this weekend, anyone watched any other games? Anything caught their eye in the score lines or bits of news? United, Everton, anything? Woody?
Well, I was just watching United Spurs, and they were right about that Van der What's his chops, weren't they? That was quite a startling run for a centre half, wasn't it?
Brilliant, wasn't it? Van der Ven,
yeah.
That's called positivity, isn't it?
It is. It's also
he got the goal against us, didn't he, back in the last season as well? A good player.
But other than that, not much that I can remember, really.
Everton, Dwight McNeil double, saving Sean Dyche as well.
Good first goal, wasn't it? Very much so.
Yeah.
I'll say Palace. Are they winless so far, Palace?
Mm-hmm.
After the way they finished last season, a lot of optimism about Palace, thinking they can get in Europe. But I say I put in the group chat, didn't I? There seems to be a lot of. I mean, it's probably fair to say that Ipswich have given Villa a game today. That they've probably been more competitive than we were at this stage last season, probably for most of the season. But they're still winless, aren't they? Ipswich are winless. Southampton are winless. Wolves are winless. Leicester are winless. Palace are winless. There's there were a lot of chat last year about these are the worst 3 teams in Premier League history, and like, well, are these like any better? Because I think we said before on the show, I think Southampton they're doomed now. They carry on. They're like a carbon copy of what we were last year. Just play out from the back at all costs, even though you make mistakes leading directly to goals every week. And Ipswich, at least with McKenna, seem to be learning a little, don't they? And Delap, I think he's surprising a few. I think everyone sort of raised their eyebrows at that the price tag in the summer, and he was super earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, he took his goal well for that second for Ipswich, didn't he? Yeah, very nice little run and finish.
Right, before we finish, Justin, why don't you tell our listeners about the wonderful new products that are available?
Amazing stuff. Well, we were talking. You have to forgive me. I've forgotten the name of the US sports company that we've got into
Travis Matthews.
Travis Matthews. Golf player, yeah. Well, I think they had some sort of sweatshirt or hoodie or something that was 140 quid. Don't bother with that. If you want to keep warm at Turf Moor this season, just head to shop at fromtheblend. I can't remember if it's .com or .co.uk now.
Shop.fromtheblend.com.
.com, that's it, right? There's a beautiful hoodie with our fantastic logo on there. It'll keep you warm all winter at Turf Moor. And there's a few other nice little items if you want to help support us, pay our costs to produce.
It's $100 less than the Travis Matthews one, from what I can see. $120 less, in fact, in American money.
Yes. Well, there you go. What a bargain that is. It would be rude not to. In fact, it probably costs you more money not to buy one than it would be. Oh, that doesn't make sense, does it?
Oh.
Yeah, so there's a few other bits and pieces in there, so I'm not going to spoil the surprise by painting the full picture. So head on there and have a look, see what you can do. If we can raise a bit of cash, we might be able to turn up twice a week with some regularity rather than the spotty performance we've put on this last few weeks.
And you can look like when I went to watch New Order. You were there as well, weren't you, Justin? At Withenshaw Park the other week, and my missus was saying, "Look, there's loads of people with your podcast t-shirt." So I was like, "No, sorry, I don't think might just be a New Order t-shirt, that one."
From the Be-All End copies.
We'll be suing Peter Saville next.
Yeah, there's lots there. So do take a look at it. There's a tote bag, which is something you can get with your Burnley Longside membership, but you can just buy one here without any nonsense. You can also get a flexi phone case, which looks very dashing. A nice mug, coffee or tea mug.
Yeah.
A poster with hanger that looks very cool with that extremely original logo that has nothing at all to do with any 1980s Mancunian bands. And of course, the range of T-shirts still there. So buy them while you can, because they are limited edition, aren't they, Justin? I think.
Oh, they won't be in the shop forever. That's for sure.
No, they won't.
They won't be there forever. Let's just point out, though, that New Order did rip that design off something else as well. So I don't think we've got any issues with that.
And the person that ripped it off did nothing to dissuade people like our fathers from believing they might be fascists, actually, because they were. It was an Italian fascist designer they ripped off.
Yeah, Simon's alluding to the fact that when we went to see New Order at the Preston, what was it called? That
Guildhall.
Preston Guildhall. Both our fathers were concerned and almost stopped us from going because we were only 15 at the time. Because they thought New Order were Nazis because of their name, and being called Rising from the Ashes of Joy Division didn't do a great deal to dissuade them. I can't remember how we managed to persuade them, but it was definitely touch and go that we were going to let us go, but fortunately they did.
Yeah, and we didn't tell them that the Blackburn youth turned up. No.
Big followers of New Order, yeah.
There were a few people there with very short hair who looked like they were sort of buying into that side of New Order and Joy Division anyway. But it was a great gig. I well remember Peter Hook's performances.
They came on about 2 hours late, played for 35 minutes with no encore, and were absolutely smashed throughout. Well done. It was one of the best nights of my life.
Brilliant. Yeah. So anyway, it's all there in the shop. So do take a look while you can. Won't be there forever, as Justin says. We will be here again, though, on Thursday. Not Friday. Friday, sorry, not Thursday. And definitely not Saturday this week. We'll be back previewing the Preston game, looking back on the Plymouth game, unless something extraordinary happens against Plymouth that gets us rushing to our laptops and microphones late on Tuesday night or something. I somehow don't think that's going to be the case. We'll speak to you then on Friday. Have a good week. Up the Clarets. Enjoy Tuesday's game. And hopefully we've got a little bit more exciting football to talk about next time we come back on From the BOLN.